house itself, there was just smoke coming out every corner of the house. No, we couldn't see any flame particularly, but smoke coming out everywhere. So I ran to the back door and I opened that and I hollered for the girls. I just said, girls, where are you? And nobody answered, and it was so terribly smoky in that kitchen. And I had Christmas cards tacked on the archway that separated the kitchen from the dining room. And they were on fire, which just seemed out of place to me that they were on fire. But the smoke was so putrid, acrid. Oh, it was just a terrible smoke. And I backed out of there because nobody answered me. I called and I backed out of there. So this is coming up to the house here, but you could also come up that way. This one was obviously for the farm machinery and stuff like that to come up and around. But over here, the driveway brought the car right up to the garage, which was underneath the house. And the house rose up above that. So it was all quite high because it was all ground level. And then the front of the house would have been right about here. Your porch all the way along. And then a bit of a divot here. And the kitchen area was right here for about this far. Yeah. So it wasn't a very big distance from here to the barn. And the power pole that where the transformer was on fire was right there. So I came out of the house that morning. Everything was covered with ice. You know how after you've had ice on the trees, everything was glistening. The sun was shining. The transformer was standing there with ice all covering the box, and it was also running along the wire that came into the house. There was little icicles all the way down along it. And I just thought about how beautiful it looked that morning. Everything was lovely. Everything was a sheet of ice. But I made my way over to the barn with my coffee in my hand, and everything was okay. But then, 15 minutes later, everything wasn't all right. And when I came out of the barn, the first thing I could see was that transformer, and it was on fire. And the line coming into the house had fire dropping off it all the way in, and smoke was coming out of every corner of the house. It wasn't that it was just a fire in the kitchen, it was everywhere. The whole house was on fire. So Christmas 1971 was significant and memorable, and I have always found the need to write down everything. So I have written it down, and I'm going to read you some of it. It says, each of us has a particular Christmas season that is imprinted in our memory as either the best or the worst. I have a memory of one that is both. It had been a year of new beginnings. My husband Don had held a number of jobs in the 8 years of our marriage. He kept jumping from one to another, usually based on a slightly higher wage, which was needed to support our family. We had 4 daughters, Sandra, 8, Beth, 5, Joanne, 4, and Donna, 28 months, or 20 months. Now I see it?
20.
Yeah, I can't see it unless I hold it up here. That's my problem. Anyway, I don't need it. I really don't need this, you know. I really don't need it. I just take my glasses off.
Yeah,
okay.
you'll be more relaxed.
I'd be more relaxed, yes. Yes. But I mean, there's a lot of it there that I don't need to go through. But Christmas itself was good in the fact that we had our Christmas tree, we had our family. And the presents came, and everybody was happy. The 26th came, and we were happy again because Auntie Aukie and Uncle Ian and Pam and Scott were coming. And they always brought lots of presents. And Dad and Irene came, and they brought lots of presents. And it was just, we had a wonderful roast beef dinner, and it was a wonderful day. We had just had a very good day. I was kind of bound up in a girdle because I didn't want anybody to know I was pregnant again. But other than that, it was a great day. And then on the 27th of December was Joanne's birthday. Did I cook French fries that day?
Yes, and Joanne told you.
Joanne told me I was the best cooker in the whole world. Yeah, that was her birthday party, wasn't it? But anyway, then the next morning was the bad morning. I woke up at about 7 o'clock, and I was late because I was usually out at the barn by 7 o'clock with a cup of coffee for Dawn, and I would feed I had about 6 calves that I fed in the morning, and it was a 15-minute job. So I rushed out, got myself dressed, and rushed out to the kitchen and put the kettle on to boil and made a cup of instant coffee for Dawn. And Sandra and Donna, the baby, arrived down at the dining room table, and there was a bowl of Christmas candy on that table, and they were picking away at it. And I just said, "Don't you be filling your stomach up with that before breakfast," and I went out the door. Now, something that I don't recall, but Audrey does, is that I said that Beth and Joanne were upstairs in their room playing with dishes that they had received for Christmas. So obviously I must have told Audrey at that one time, but I don't remember it. So I walked into the barn. I gave Don his coffee. I mixed up the milk replacer, and so maybe it took me 5 minutes to mix it. I fed the calves, and that probably took 5 minutes because calves eat pretty fast. And I didn't have any cigarettes in the house, so I went and got a cigarette from Don, and I sat down and was having a smoke and just talking with him a bit, and the power went out. And Jean-Guy, the hired man, he just went out to see. He thought maybe a car had hit a pole or something out on the road because it was so icy. So he went out to see what was going on, and he come running back, fire, fire. So we ran out to see what was going on. That transformer was directly in my line of sight when I came out the door, and it was on fire. There was fire coming up around it, and there was also fire where these icicles had been on the line. There's now was fire along the line. In the meantime, Dawn had climbed up on the roof of the porch by the kitchen to what would be Sandra's bedroom upstairs, and he broke that window out, and the flame just poofed. Just talk about these overdraft, is it?
Crossover, they go?
Backdraft. Well, backdraft. They just come whoosh right out the window and set the ladder on fire. He jumped to the ground, hurt his heels when he jumped onto the ground because it was all ice. And as soon as that happened, then I ran around to the front of the house where the garage was under the house, and I walked in there. The stairs went up to the dining room. So I went up those stairs, and I opened the door into the dining room, and as soon as I did, the fire just blew out at me there, and I just hear my hair crackling. I grabbed the hood of my jacket and pulled it down over my head, and I started back down the stairs. And Don was down there hollering at me. I think he thought that I'd just gone in to stay. But by the time we got out of there, we knew there was no hope. We knew that there was nothing left. Jean-Guy took the car, and he headed off out of the yard, but he only got about 50 feet before he slid into the ditch. And he ran up to his mother and father's place where he lived. It was about, 2,000 feet up the road maybe. And they didn't have any telephone because I guess the lines had been discombobulated or whatever. So he then ran to the village of Johnville, which would be probably the better part, well, a good kilometer, maybe more than a kilometer, and called the fire trucks, which had to come from Cookshire. We waited and we waited and we waited for trucks to come, and nothing came. Well, as it turned out, they had chosen to come the route that brought them up the steep hill in Bulwer instead of coming in any of the other roads that are not so hilly, but they couldn't get up the hill in Bulwer, which happened to be by the house that we had lived in before we moved to the farm. So they went into the basement of that house and got ashes out of the furnace and put on the road to get the fire trucks up the hill. We're standing there by this burning house. We don't dare break any more windows because when we break windows, it makes it worse. We just think we'll just wait for the firemen to come. And then all of a sudden, there was this big, kind of an explosion, I guess, and fire just came out everywhere. And I moved around and went over to the barn. I'm not sure where Don went. He was there somewhere. I don't know. I went in and sat down in the barn. I was talking to the horse. The horse was tied by the window that looked out to the house. And I remember telling Sunshine, my girls are gone. Then I went back out to watch. And I don't know, I had this need to watch. And I was standing there, and that's the first time I felt the baby in my belly move. And at the same time as that happened, I saw these 4 very distinct little pillars of smoke go up in the air. And I thought, it sounds stupid, and I know it does sound stupid, but I saw it. And from then on, it was just a day of horror. I mean, everybody did everything they could do for us, but when you walk away from your life with nothing on your back but barn clothes